Welcome to episode 10 of Followers of the Cross podcast. This is your host, Jason Reynolds. My podcast is hosted on Spreaker.com, Spreaker. I'd like to invite you to check out my website, followersofthecross.com. I've totally revamped the site with more interactive features and a more user-friendly layout. The website has stories related to these podcasts, as well as links to the podcast episodes and stories that you will not find here on the podcast. Today, I'm interviewing Quinn Alexis for this podcast episode. Quinn is a college student and an actress who has one of the lead roles in a movie called Remember the Goal. Remember the Goal will hit theaters around the South on August 26, as well as select cities elsewhere. This film is kind of special to me. My friend, the producer and director, Dave Christiano, invited me to work as an extra in a couple of scenes. I say work in the loosest sense because I was not paid. The experience was fun, however. I got to hang around the set for about half a day. I don't know that my limited presence will even make the film, but again, I did enjoy it. Remember the Goal is about a new and tested coach of a Christian girls' cross-country team. The coach has some unusual ideas and has to overcome the parents' objections. The girls on the team deal with real-life issues that teens often deal with as well. Dave told me that he wants to inspire young people with his movie. He has spoken out against the ungodliness in today's media. Remember the Goal incorporates 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31 from the Bible. Whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. Now, to the interview with Quinn.
Hello?
Hi, this is Quinn Alexis. Is this Jason?
Yes, hey Quinn.
Hey, good to hear you.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I know we can use all the marketing we can get, so that's a huge blessing.
Yeah, Dave's a good guy. I've known him since the release of the last movie, Matter of Faith.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was kind of off on the sidelines during the filming for a little while, the morning for the main race scenes. It was a really hot day.
Yes, it was. It was, that was, I think we all agreed that was the hardest day. Honestly, it was one of our favorite days, like us meaning kind of the main cast. But yeah, it was, God's hand was definitely on that. Like, were you there when we did the coming through the finish line?
Yes, I was kind of right by the finish line.
Okay, yeah, because, like, I mean, you know, for the movie to be the movie that it is, you know, certain people have to beat other people. And, like, I personally, well, the two of the lead actors, myself and Jayla Palmer, who plays Shelby, both of us have to go in front of the other person to make sure that, you know, the movie is accurate. And neither of us were runners before the film. And so we were running against actual real cross-country runners. So that was, like, crazy. We were so sore the next day. But, I mean, it was good motivation because they were, like, really good.
I bet. And they had to redo that scene, I recall, a couple of times. We did that.
Yeah, they definitely did quite a few takes of that.
So anyway, thanks for joining us today, Quinn, for the podcast. Tell me about the premise of Remember the Goal, and tell me about your character.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. So, Remember the Goal is a sports drama about a girls' cross-country team, and basically the story opens, and there's this young coach who's right out of college. She's never coached before, and she brings some questionable teaching methods to the table with this new girls' team. And so, you know, these girls have been running for a few years, and she comes to this all-girls Christian school and starts coaching, and there's just a bunch of issues that pop up with the parents of the girls because, you know, the parents just want their kids to do their best, and the coach, to an extent, disagrees with that because she wants them to remember the main goal and not just win every race, just to win. And so the parents get upset about that, and the girls are kind of caught in the middle between, angry parents who are paying for this private school education and then, wanting to trust the coach and seeing what a great, godly woman she is. And she's just a really cool mentor to each of the girls. And each of the girls have their own storyline. Like my character, Anna Glass, is the lead runner on the team, and she deals with a friend who, without giving too much away, I think it's in the trailer, so it's probably okay to say this, but Anna deals with a friend who has just started smoking weed, and she doesn't know this friend super well anymore, so she's, caught between do I confront her, or, what do I do? I want to love her, but it's kind of way out of my comfort zone, and so she's able to talk to the coach, and the coach, she's such a great character because she's not pushy about it, but she, wants Anna to do the right thing and wants all the girls to do the right thing, and
Sure.
she's a great example to us.
Sure. And to me, as a parent also, that's a huge concern. Kids doing drugs or doing something that they may not think is bad right off the bat, but can get them into trouble. And I don't know how far that gets with the character either, but talk about as a young person, you've probably heard about it at school. You may have had friends or other people that you know doing some sort of behavior. Is this something that you've had to deal with yourself in real life?
Well, I was homeschooled all the way through up until when I graduated. Not to say that homeschoolers don't drink and do drugs. I mean, that happens in any situation, but it's a little bit more limited. So I never really had to deal with that firsthand. I would say outside of the school realm, sure. And then for my final 2 years of high school, I dual enrolled at a community college. And so you see a little bit more of that, there, kind of hop outside of the Christian bubble, and you're like, oh, okay, the real world, Yes. But it's so important to have Christian friends who will ground you. And kind of like I said about the coach before, like my parents are both strong Christians and just great godly examples to me, but they've never been like super pushy, and they won't be like, we'll ground you for your life if you ever have drugs. Like that was just a decision I made on my own, and so I think that's really cool too, that they've always kind of been a godly voice, but not necessarily like laying down the law for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that I tell you, was once young, I know that would have pushed me into a corner probably of like, okay, I'm going to do it. As far as like, we shall not do this,
Yeah, and of course it's important to have, to have a rule in the household, but it's a fine line between like being too controlling,
Oh yeah, that's something that. Oh yeah, that's one of the big questions for a parent.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, and I was just going to say one of the other character storylines, the character Rebecca, she has a very controlling mother, so that's kind of her storyline, and the mom is really upset with the coach, and she just has a lot going on at home, and she takes it out on her daughter Rebecca, and then Rebecca, is just kind of torn and confused, and is just dealing with this at home, so that kind of ties into that storyline as well.
Sure. And tell me about, you've mentioned a couple of the main characters. Who are a couple of other characters then in the movie that stick out to you?
Well, my best friend in the film, her name is Heidi, and she's played by Sydney Marks. And so she plays my best friend in the film, and her storyline is she's just a little bit less athletic than my character Anna. She's a little bit less popular at school, and it's just one of those things that like every time she tries to get good at something, Anna, not on purpose, but just as part of her nature, Anna's always just a little bit better at that, which is funny because I'm not a very athletic person, but my character is, and she doesn't mean to be like prideful about it, and she really isn't, but she just pushes herself, and she's just a talented person. So Heidi's character, I think, will really be relatable to so many people. I mean, I know I've experienced that with, you just have that one friend that, like, literally everything they do is just perfect, and you're like, why?
Sure.
And I just feel like so many, I mean, young women and young men can relate to that.
And some
but
older,
really all ages.
Some older men and some older women can relate to that. Oh, yes. My wife and I have some very creative friends in our networks, and I'm always amazed and sometimes a little bit jealous.
Yeah.
That's just the human nature, you know.
Yep. Yeah. The devil can really snatch you up in that little jealousy game.
Amen. Well, tell me a little bit about how you came to be cast in the movie. I know that so many of the people who were other runners in the film, but not necessarily portrayed as leads, were actual cross-country runners, really from around the Southeast.
Right.
Tennessee, North Georgia, and so forth, which is my neck of the woods, Southeast Tennessee. But tell me how you came to be cast as one of the lead roles, as the lead student.
Sure. So I have an agent in Nashville, and she told me about the audition information, and I actually ended up, receiving some sides, some scenes from the film to audition with. I auditioned for Anna, which is the character that I play, and then I think I auditioned for Mackenzie Miller's character, who's Caitlin. I can't remember. Maybe I auditioned for Heidi too, but 2 or 3 characters.
Okay.
So I received those sides, and I actually went to a great friend of mine who is a casting director here in Nashville, and she was willing to tape the audition for me, and she gave me some really great feedback, and we just worked on that for an hour or so, sent it off to the director, and then he wrote back eventually, and he said that one of the most important things in the film, because it's a cross-country movie, a sports drama, is to make sure that I look like I could actually be a runner. So he wanted each of the girls who are auditioning for the lead roles, after they send in their acting audition, to send in a running audition. So he sent a little clip from, what was it? I'll think of it in a second. But he sent a little running clip of some cross-country meet. What is it called? It's going to bug me. It's like Lock or something.
I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. And so I looked at that, and again, not being a runner, I was like, what's a stride? And so I asked my friend who used to run cross-country in the area if she would be willing to help me, and so she filmed it for me and gave me a few tips. Sent that in to Dave, and then, after a few more conversations, I got the job.
Well, you've probably, I imagine you never really thought you would have to, in addition to doing the acting audition, have to do some running and send that in.
Well,
unexpected.
It was, yes and no. In the original audition post, he had written that to him, the acting skill was pretty much tied with the running ability, just because he's a cross-country coach, and or he has coached in the past, he's run in the past, but he didn't want to make a movie that just going to look fake and, be so mockable or something, which is just very smart and very wise.
Yeah.
And so I guess I hadn't really known that I was going to be sending him a clip of me running, but I knew that was very important to him.
Yes, it was, and that was one thing that impressed me when he was talking about the movie leading up to the filming, the fact that he was going for accuracy. Some movies, whether it's a mainstream movie or even like a faith-based movie, sometimes the details just don't really get translated into something that's real life and believable.
Right.
And I'm not an expert on running either, but from the way that Dave has described the process, it sounds like he must have captured it pretty accurately. Yes,
he is very excited about that, and it's just so cool to see the turnout of people who were supporting the film. And the day that you came on set, so many runners were there to just be in kind of that opening shot of that race, and it looked so realistic, and it just, in the trailer, it just looks so good. So I am really looking forward